Hi guys, and welcome back to another video gaming with the powers. I'm Jake.
I'm Sierra.
And today we're going to be doing a review of the brand new game Astra by Mindclash Games. As always guys, we're going to go ahead and take you down to the table first and kind of show you how it's played and take one full turn. And then we'll be back up here for the review. Alright guys, so we're down here at the table and we have everything set up for a two-player game of Astra. Prior to the game, everybody is dealt a final scoring card. Here you can see that'll just give you the instructions on how to score it, but then the key point is on the back. It will give you some extra information of maybe some constellations that you want to go for. Everybody's final scoring card is different, and so we'll kind of go over that at the end of the video. All right. So Astra is a game about collecting constellations. You'll be marking stars on the constellation. Once the constellation is completely full, you'll be able to collect that constellation, and then along the way you're going to be scoring victory points, and then at the end of the game you will score victory points based upon how big your stardust bag is, how much wisdom you have, and all of your constellations. So that is the point of the game. So how is the game actually played? There's 4 different phases in a 2-player version of Astra. So the first phase, guys, is the ability phase. So the ability phase will allow you to activate any abilities of any constellations that you have in your little area, right? So we'll just take Cauldron, for example. You can see a couple things on this card. So in the top left-hand corner, you're going to see the element of the card. In the top right-hand corner, you're going to see 2 numbers. The white number is going to denote how many stars that constellation has. The black number is going to denote the amount of victory points this card will score you at the end of the game. Then it says the card name. Below that is the ability. So for Cauldron, his effect is start a song, then point at players one after the other. Each player that can continue gains 1 stardust. Gain 1 stardust for each singing player. So that is his ability. I would be able to activate that. And then below that are called boons. We'll go over that in one of the phases when we get to that phase, okay? But again, the ability phase is if I had Cauldron in my little play area, I would just exhaust him by turning 90 degrees, and then I would be able to activate his ability. He will stay exhausted until I'm able to unexhaust him, which we'll go over that as well. Okay, the second phase of the game is the action phase. So during the action phase, you can take 2 different types of actions. The first one is called the observe action. So what you will do is you will spend stardust to mark stars on a constellation. You can spend as much stardust as you're able to, or you can spend as little stardust as you want to. So starting off, let's just say I'm going to spend 3 stardust. So I'll spend my 3 stardust and I'm going to mark Aquila here. So there are star marking rules, and the first time you always mark a star, you have to start at the starting point. The starting point is the double circle. So for Aquila, you can see the starting point is right here. Okay? From that point, you can go to any adjacent star from the starting point. So I could go to this star here, or this star here. Okay, I think I'm going to go here for number 2. Again, I have to go to the adjacent star, which the only one is going to be this star here. So I would bubble this one. So now you can see that star is a little different than the other stars. It's a shiny star, or what they call it, a grand star. Every time you mark a grand star, you'll come to your player board over here, and you will fill in these circles right here. This is called your wisdom track, okay? When this wisdom track fills up and you bubble up the bubbles underneath the numbers, that will then allow you to have more constellations in your little area, right? So I just filled up the first spot. I should only mark 1. But let's say I spent 4 stardust and grabbed both of these grand stars there like that. I would then fill in another bubble So now I would be able to hold 3 constellations in my area, right? If I was able to keep going and let's say I bubbled in these 3, now I'm able to hold 4. So it goes all the way up to 8, to where you can hold 8 constellations, okay? Is the second part of the observe phase is the telescope. Yeah. So you can, if you have any telescopes collected, you can spend a telescope to take your observe action a second time. So you can only do the observe action once. So like when I mark those stars, that's it. I have to end my turn. But if I had a telescope, I could spend my last stardust and I could mark maybe another constellation somewhere else like Andromeda or Corvus, or I could mark again on Aquila. Okay, so that is the observe action. You spend your stardust to mark stars on constellations, and then you spend a telescope to add more stars. All right, guys, so the second action you can take in the action phase is the rest action. So when taking the rest action, there's 3 steps that you have to follow. The first one is you will refill your bag up to the bag limit. So as you can see on your player board here, guys, this top section right here, this is your bag, and this is the amount of stardust you can hold in your bag. Everybody starts with a bag limit of 5. So I would take my 5. Now, if I had 0, I would fill it up all the way to 5. If I had only 3, I would only take 2 stardust. I don't take 5. It's filled up to your bag limit, okay? So I fill up to my bag limit. The second thing is I will unexhaust any constellations that are matching the element that the game marker is on. So this is the game marker here on the game board. So right now it is on the Earth element. So I would unexhaust any constellations that have an Earth element, okay? Then the final step is I will advance the sphere on the game board track to the next element in clockwise order, okay? If the tracker ever passes going from the water to the fire, you can see here there's a little icon of an X with a card. What that means is you're going to discard the top card of the deck, and that will just help kind of move things along because the game can kind of stall, okay? But so I moved it there, and that is the rest action, and that is your second action of the action phase. So again, guys, in the action phase, the 2 actions you can take are the observe action or the rest action. The third phase of the game is called the discovery phase, okay? The discovery phase only happens if a constellation becomes, it becomes discovered. There we go. So the way a constellation is discovered is every single star in the constellation is marked, okay? Once all of the stars, whoever the last person to complete the constellation is the person that collects it, okay?
That discovers it.
Yes, they end up discovering the collection, or the constellation, not the collection. And so what will happen at that point in time is whoever discovered the constellation will collect it. So let's just say I have Aquila here. I'm just going to go ahead and mark 4 spots. Well, I'll do this. And then I'll borrow Sierra's little marker over here. And then I will fill in these other 4 spots. So let's say Sierra was the last one to bubble in over here. She would collect this constellation. However, in the process of doing that, these 4 boxes down here at the bottom, they now come into play. Those are called boons. And so the assisting player, or the assisting person that marked on the constellation will then get to collect a reward for doing that. So I'll get to choose my reward. And so the rewards would be, I could either get 3 victory points, I could either get 5 stardust, I could either get 1 telescope, or unexhaust 1 card. Anytime you are collecting stardust from a card, it's instant and you can go over your bag limit. Okay, and then she would just collect it, and that's hers until the end of the game. So that is the discovery phase, and the constellations that'll get discovered, the you can discover as many constellations that get marked. So let's say we happen to fill up Aquila and Corvus in the same turn. Both those would be able to be discovered. Once a constellation gets discovered, so let's say she collects it, then it'll be refilled at the end of the round with the next constellation, and then you just kind of go through the deck that way, okay? So that is the third phase, the discovery phase. There is one extra phase called the Dreamer phase, which is the fourth phase. That is strictly for two-player games, and that is kind of like an AI. Just again to kind of help speed things up and move the game along. And how the AI operates is when you take the rest action and you move the marker, you will then mark stars equal to the number on the given element. So it might be hard for you to see, but there's a 1 right here on the earth phase, there's a 2 on the wind, a 3 on the water, and a 4 on the fire. That will tell you how many stars you need to mark as the dreamer. The person whose turn it is that took the rest action is the dreamer. They become the dreamer and they mark. You have to follow normal star marking rules. So let's say I took the rest action. So I'm the dreamer now. I am set to mark 2 stars. The way the dreamer works is he has a priority list where he will start with any undiscovered, unmarked constellations first. If all of the constellations are marked, then he goes to the constellation that has the most stars remaining. So in this case, Andromeda would have the most stars because she has 14. I would go ahead and mark. Again, I have to start with the star marking rules. So I would have to start on the start point, and then I would mark 1 more adjacent. So as the dreamer, I would mark those 2 stars. The next thing about the dreamer is that if he has more stars marked than the assisting player when a constellation is discovered, the 2 leftmost, so let me take Andromeda here, so the 2 leftmost boons would be canceled out. Those are the 4 phases, and that's pretty much how the game works. You guys will keep playing until the deck runs out, until you see this card right here. The game end card. Once this card happens, everybody will take 1 final turn. The instructions will tell you how to set up this deck. So we're going to go ahead and take 1 quick turn, guys, to kind of show you how everything works, and then we'll be back up top for the review. Okay, I'll go ahead and start it off. So I'm going to go ahead and spend 4 Stardust, and I'm going to mark Aquila here for 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I get to bubble 2 on my wisdom track, and that is my turn.
My turn?
Yep.
I'm gonna spend all 5 and mark 5 on Andromeda. Oops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I got 2 grand stars.
All right, guys. So that is pretty much how Astra plays. You'll then just keep taking turns until, again, you see that game end card in the deck, and then you'll go to final scoring. All right, guys. We'll see you back up top for a review. All right, guys. So I hope you enjoyed the walkthrough, and, we just tried to kind of detail everything so you know how to play the game pretty much, and you can go ahead and get started. So let's go ahead and jump right into the review, starting with the theme. So I went ahead and gave the theme A+ here. I think I haven't seen a game like this out there. Really, you see a lot of those space games and like you're going to discover planets and that type of games, but you've never really seen a game about constellations. You feel almost like you're looking at the constellations by the way you're just marking the stars, and it's kind of like, like when you go outside, for me it's like I know Orion's belt. You can recognize that easily by the 3 little stars in the middle. So it's like I just look for those 3 little stars and then I see the rest of the other stars. So it's kind of cool how you're essentially doing that same thing. Let me find those different stars and then bubble them in, and then you collect the constellation. But yeah, it's an A+ for me. Again, it just adds in, you have rolling rights, but there's not too many games where you're writing on the cards and thing. The only two games that I've seen that I know do this are QE and Ready Set Bet are the only two games where you're actually writing on like your boards or writing on something else. So
Telestrations.
Yeah.
Do you know telestrations?
I don't know telestrations.
No.
Okay. Yeah. So again, because of all this stuff, I love the theme. I love how it flows and how everything operates. So A+ for me.
I gave it a A+ as well. I think the theme's beautiful and super sweet. How you are helping to find these stars to make the constellations and then discovering the constellations. I think it's awesome.
Yep. All right, guys, moving on to components. I went ahead and gave components an A here. I think, first of all, the artwork with all the different types of constellations is cool, is amazing. They have so many different types of constellations in here that I never knew existed. That makes me want to like try and find them in the sky if I can. I think the Stardust is kind of cool. It's like a gemmy type feeling. The boards and the cards are very smooth to bubble in and erase. You know, it's not when you erase it, there's not really any marks there that are left over. So I think they did a good job with that. The gloss finish is cool. It's just a very good production. The cards are big and they're pretty thick as well, so they're very sturdy. Other than that, they got two different game boards for 2 players, 1 player, 2 player, 3 player, 4 player. So yeah, I mean, I liked everything about it. A for me.
I gave it an A as well. I think it's awesome what they've created, how they made it where you can write on it and it's easily erasable. And like you said, I love the Stardust. I love the looks of the constellations and everything. I think it's great.
All right. Moving on to third one, guys. Setup. I went ahead and gave setup a B+ here. I think, it takes you a while to set the game up. What really, the only shtick for me, I guess, would be just counting the cards to try and prepare the deck for 2 players. The cards, because of the gloss finish, they stick pretty well to each other. So when you're having to count the cards, it's happened to me more than once where I'll say 1, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and like 2 cards will be stuck together and I'll count it as 1. So then it ends up jacking up the deck and like the game ends up going longer. So it's like, that's the bad thing. That's the only issue for me is like, I have to sit there and be like, okay, this is 1 card. Okay, this is 2 card. And that just takes a while and takes time to set the game up. Other than that, it's pretty simple. You put the game boards out, you get your Stardust, you flip over the cards and bring the cards out, and then you get the right board. But again, for me, the only issue is that the cards sticking together and having to count methodically in a way. Some people might be better at it. Maybe I'm just slow at counting. I don't know. But B+ for me.
I give it a B+ for the same reasons. I don't think I need to go over it again.
Yeah. All right, moving to the next one, length. I went ahead and gave the length a B here. I think this is my biggest drawback of the game. I feel like this game takes a long time. Really, we haven't had a short playthrough. And what's kind of unfortunate about it is that they have 2 mechanisms in the game that are designed to help speed it up, but it still takes a really long time. And so again, those 2 mechanisms are when you get past when you're going from the 3 to the 4, you discard a card, and then the Dreamer helps mark stars and speeds it up, but it still takes a long while. And I think that's the biggest issue for me, and maybe for us, I think you'll agree with me, of just getting this to the table. Like, we're just like, oh man, we don't want to get this to the table because it's going to take so long. I mean, it's going to take almost an hour, probably, yeah. An hour or longer in order to do that. And so like, I think if you guys watch our playthrough, it's like 55 minutes or something like that. And so it's a B for me.
I gave it a B as well for the same reasons. It just seems to drag on a little bit. I love the play of the game, but after a while it does get a little old. Yeah. You're just marking stars, collecting Stardust, marking stars, and which is really fun in the beginning, but then we get a little tired of it in an hour-long game. I think if this was a little bit shorter, I'd like it even better.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to difficulty. So remember, guys, as always, the higher the rating is, the easier we feel the game is. I went ahead and gave this a B+. I think that there's a lot of phases to the game, and in those phases, there's multiple different things. And yes, it can be confusing. I don't think it's confusing because the rule book and you have like player aid cards that do a good job of outlining exactly what to do. But it's after a couple times playing this game, I kind of want to have those phases and things memorized. And I feel like what you said, where you get to a point in the game where it's exciting at first and you have all this high energy, and then it's just like you get into the middle of the game and then you're just like you're trying to skip through different things. So it's like we've taken the rest action and it's like, okay, I'm gonna move this first and do this, and then we're like, hey, don't forget to take your stardust. Like, you find yourself trying to skip different things because there's just so many different phases of the game. I can see how somebody who's not really familiar with these types of games or really doesn't play board games can kind of get overwhelmed with that a little bit. So that's why I give it a B+.
I agree. I think I gave it a B+ as well. Not that it's a bad game or that it's super difficult, but there are small mechanisms in it that you have to keep track of. Like he was saying, there's a lot of the phases and there's multiple things that happen in each phase. And 2-player versus 4-player has different phases. It's just, I don't think it's the easiest game to start someone off on, which is the only reason I gave it that. It's still a great game, and for avid board gamers, I think it's fine. Mm-hmm. But you do have to like keep yourself on track. Be like, okay, well, I got my stardust. I get this much stardust. I can only get this many constellations that match my wisdom. Oh, don't forget to mark if you get a boon. It's just small things you gotta remember that I think increases the difficulty, maybe for newer players especially. And then the other thing would be like remembering your final score and how that will come into play as well.
Yeah, and then one thing I actually remembered too is the abilities of
they can be a little difficult.
The abilities of some of the constellations can be very confusing when you read them. But there's like different types of abilities.
And wording.
Yeah, and wording. You have like instant abilities, abilities that'll say this turn, or abilities that'll say end of turn. Mm-hmm. And so like you'll run into it sometimes where we've taken our action and skipped the ability phase and then read the card and it says like, and then we forget to do like the ability phase first of turning the action. So again, that's where it gets a little difficult. But yeah, so B+ for both of us. Moving on to replayability. So I actually gave replayability an A here. I think there's a good amount of cards in the deck. And so with 2 players, like I said, you're only running through maybe like, I think it's like 18 or 19 cards. So it's going to take you a while to get through all the cards in the deck. But then also with the final scoring, just the different final scoring cards, I think gives you a different objective every single time. And then there's multiple ways to play the game. I've played it to where I've hardly taken any constellations and just tried to score as many boons and get as many victory point boons as possible. And, been close. I've never beat her, but I've been close to beating her.
You beat me once. Or maybe not.
And then you can play it by just collecting the constellations. So I think just that variety is kind of what gives it an A for me.
Yeah, I agree. I was between giving it a B+, A-. I'm somewhere in there. I think the thing that kind of pulls me down a little bit is that I wish every constellation had a different action. Okay. Some of the constellations end up having the same actions, which I can see being good on a 2-player game because you're not getting through this whole deck. You're only getting to that end game card. Yeah. So at least you're getting through some of those better actions or abilities. But as we go on, we start to get the same abilities or actions. Yeah. And I don't know, it starts to be a little bit repetitive, but that's being just kind of harsh or nitpicky, I guess. It's still a really great game, and I think the abilities help with the, what am I trying to say? Like what's the word I'm thinking of? Like how you play.
Yeah. I don't know what you think. I'm sorry. All right, guys. So last one is the price. So this game you can find online right now for $25 to $27. The significant drop, because I think what you paid $35.
I don't remember. I was gonna say, for once, I actually bought this game.
Yeah, she bought this one.
Not Jake. This is one of the few that I bought. I just got super excited for the constellations, the theme, and how you play and you mark them.
Yeah. So I think, if I remember correctly, again, don't quote me, guys. I think Astra's Mindclash Games is selling this on their website for like $35. You can find it at most, like, a lot of the game stores or online websites that we talk about. So like Boardlandia, House Rules Dallas, they sell it for $25 to $27. I think at that price range, I would give it an A. I definitely think you'll get value out of this game. For that price, the quality of the components you're getting, and like the cool factor of like, hey, I get to draw on the cards, and like they still look neat and they still look like not touched, I guess, or not worn through for a $25 game, I think is great. So just say I'm giving it an A. I think it's good value. You'll get your money's worth out of it.
I agree. I gave it an A as well. I think it's a perfect price for it, what you're getting.
All right, guys, overall ratings. So I'm going to go ahead and give this game a B+. Again, I think some of the things I talked about, just the length of the game, getting it to the table for me is just, it's not really a chore, but it's just like, I want to play this game. I love the theme of it. I love so many things about this game. And I think Sierra really summed it up best for me when she said that you start the game and you get excited because you're seeing the constellations and it's like, oh, this is so cool and this is so new and different. And then you get about 35, 40 minutes into the game and you're like, okay, I'm kind of over this. Like, we're dragging along. Like, I still got like 8 cards left in the deck. Like, that's kind of how it works. So, like we both said, it's still a great game. If this theme interests you, I recommend you buy it. But just know for us, at 2 players, that's kind of how I feel about it. Is I get excited to play it, but then after about 30 minutes, I'm like, okay, I'm kind of over this. Like, let's just finish this up and let's go move on to something else.
I agree. I think I'm gonna give it an A as for overall rating. I think it's a great game. I love the theme. I love the components. I think they put a lot of work into this and really made it beautiful. But it does drag on a little bit long. I wish there was a way to shorten it just a little bit. Like maybe once you get to 5 constellations, you're done, or 6.
We could always put in like a house rule. Yeah.
And I think it'd be perfect. It really is a really fun game. Yeah. It's just, towards the end, I think we just both got a little tired of it. I love the way that the scoring happens at the end, because you really can't tell who's going to win until you go through the final scoring. That's one thing we haven't talked about that I think is a cool component of this game. But overall, I think it's a really great game. And we do play it, and we have played it quite a few times, but we got to give ourselves like enough time for it. We got to be in the sorry Siri. We've got to be in the right mindset of playing this kind of game.
Yep. All right, guys. Well, there you have it. You got anything for them?
Nope.
All right, guys. As always, please comment, like, subscribe. We look forward to bringing you more content, and y'all be great. Bye.
Bye.